highlight of today's program is the panel discussion. May I kindly invite our respected panelists to take their seats on the head table. The discussion will be followed by an interactive question and answer session, and we warmly encourage everyone in the audience to actively participate and share their thoughts. I now hand over the session to our moderator, Mr. A.A. Sulaim, our own third-year undergraduate and a member of EcoNexus Green Club, who will guide the discussion and ensure a meaningful and lively exchange of ideas.
Good morning, everyone. It is my immense pleasure to welcome you all to this special panel discussion in celebration of World Wetlands Day 2026. My name is Sulaim, and I sincerely thank everyone for being here today. This year's theme, Wetlands and Traditional Knowledge, celebrating cultural heritage, invites us to reflect deeply on how culture and traditional wisdom have safeguarded wetlands for generations. Yet, as we know, now wetlands are disappearing rapidly, and it is our responsibility to take action to prevent this crisis. Now, let me introduce our distinguished panelists, an extraordinary group whose expertise spans multiple disciplines. To start with, it is truly an honor to introduce Senior Professor Hemanthi Ranasinghe, a chartered environmental professional with over 2 decades of international experience. Professor Ranasinghe has worked across Canada, Sri Lanka, the United States, and the United Kingdom, collaborating with leading global institutions such as the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, United Nations agencies, Food and Agricultural Organization, Plan International, and JICA. Her expertise spans environmental impact assessment, ecological studies, forestry, climate change, environmental auditing and certification, and much more, leading multidisciplinary teams across sectors from renewable energy to water systems. What makes her presence particularly valuable today is her ability to bridge science, governance, and practice with a global and local perspective. Also, in recognition of her professional excellence, she was honored with the Professional Woman of the Year 2000 award by the Women's Chamber of Commerce. She continues to inspire others through leadership and knowledge sharing. Dear Senior Professor Hemanthi Ranasinghe, we are deeply honored to have you with us today. It is also a great privilege to welcome Dr. Pi Drexel. Dr. Pi Drexel is a German citizen who has been living in Sri Lanka for the past 15 years. With over 30 years of experience as an environmental scientist working across Africa and Asia, Dr. Drexel has contributed significantly at the intersection of agriculture, sanitation, waste management, and water governance. Before his retirement a few months ago, he worked as a senior research fellow, research quality advisor, and country manager at the headquarters of the International Water Management Institute in Colombo. He also worked as World Health Organization and Food and Agriculture Organization advisor, and has edited or written over 10 books and authored or co-authored about 500 publications, have in peer-reviewed books and journals. He is coordinating Talangama Wetland Watch in the outskirts of Colombo, a self-funded community-based initiative that takes care of the local lake area with daily cleaning and awareness creation 365 days of the year, and he is also the co-founder of the Thalangama Wetland Watch. There was an article published in Ceylon today that I would like to read to the audience because it's very interesting about Dr. Drexel. It starts like this. Most of us passing by car the Thalangama Lake area between Malabe and Battaramulla on the way to work in Colombo or back are wondering about the tall foreigner who is every morning and evening walking alone or with an assistant along the streets of the lake and adjoining paddy fields, emptying dustbins and collecting litter and any other type of trash from the streets, lakes, drains and irrigation channels. And this on every day of the week since nearly 9 years, and it continues, the article. So Dr. Drexel, we are very happy to have you with us today. Our next panelist, Ms. Mandakini Amarasinghe, we are delighted to have you with us today. Ms. Amarasinghe serves as an acting senior environmental officer at the Central Environmental Authority and is attached to the Natural Resources Management Unit of the Environmental Management and Assessment Division. She has experience in biodiversity and conservation, wetland management, environmental impact assessment and biosafety regulation. Since 2017, she has actively contributed to environmental protection, area management, natural resource conservation, pollution control and environmental policy development, supporting science-based environmental governance and sustainable management in Sri Lanka. She holds an MSc in Molecular and Applied Microbiology from the University of Peradeniya and a Bachelor of Science in Export Agriculture from Uva University. Her research has focused on plant-microbe intersections, molecular detection of plant diseases and the use of beneficial microbes to enhance climate change resilience. Her professional interests include wetland conservation, biodiversity protection, environmental policy and sustainable development. Through her work and research, she continues to promote responsible natural resource management and environmental protection in Sri Lanka. Ms. Mandakini Amarasinghe, you are very welcome. And finally, it is a pleasure to introduce Dr. Dimidu Devapura. He is an anthropologist specializing in cultural ecology with research interests in anthropology, intangible cultural heritage and ethnography. His work focuses on the interactions between human societies in irrigation tank ecosystems, exploring how traditional knowledge systems, including traditional cultural practices, guide the sustainable management and conservation of these ancient water systems. Dr. Devapura's research integrates field studies and ethnographic methods to understand how local communities maintain and manage irrigation tanks, emphasizing the crucial links between cultural heritage, agricultural practices, and ecosystem sustainability. His work highlights the role of traditional knowledge in preserving these ecosystems while supporting rural livelihoods and biodiversity. And I'm proud to say that I am also one of his students. Dr. Devapura, welcome. Now, before we start the discussion, I would like to give a brief structure on the discussion. We have 2 rounds of discussion where each panelist will get approximately 4 to 5 minutes to answer, followed by 30 minutes of interactive question and answer. Now, let's start the first round of questions. Dr. Drexel, drawing on your experience in water management and your leadership in Talangama Wetland Watch, what do you see as the most urgent threats facing wetlands today, particularly within rapidly developing landscapes?
This works. Yeah, thanks for the question, and thank you very much for inviting me. Very honored to be here. And of course, the threats, it's a very, very important question. And I would like to look at it from a perspective of someone, and in principle all of us here in Gampaha, from the perspective of an urbanizing area, a rapidly urbanizing area. So I'm not looking at the question from the perspective of living somewhere in rural areas. Wetlands have the villages around, but here, these wetlands in the Colombo. It's okay, madam. Thank you. In the Colombo metropolitan region, where we have approximately 45 wetlands, CA will know better. Some are very closely linked, so maybe at the end there are 40 wetlands. Dr. Jeet, and already before in the movie, we saw some of these threats, like water pollution. Yeah, water pollution, and then you get a lot of invasive plant species, and they are reducing biodiversity, and they're reducing also those plants which might be much more important to us than having the water hyacinths, for instance, or salvinia. Dr. Jeet also mentioned another threat. He didn't mention it really, it's a little bit between the lines. So one of the threats is don't publish nice coffee table books where you're shown secret wetland places, where now hundreds of tourists who read these books come and destroy them. Very dangerous, the downside. Just joking, doctor. No, the two threats I would like to highlight are land prices. So in urban areas, what is the key resource which is everyone looking for? Yeah, that's land. And what is the cheapest land? Paddy fields, yeah, or wetlands. So that's why we face this problem that in the last 50, 60 years, and again, you will know the numbers better, approximately over 60% of our wetlands disappeared just because that is cheap land. Yeah? And there are very strong stakeholders, businesses, who need land and can't get it anymore, so they look then for the cheap land that are our wetlands. So our economy, demand and supply, is actually a very big threat unless these wetlands are protected. Then we can protect them, we can save them. The second biggest threat, and that is something which was partially mentioned by Dr. Jeet, it was ownership. And of these 45 wetlands, we have, each one has a custodian. Each of these wetlands has a custodian, that means some kind of owner. And that is usually, and I don't know if you know all this abbreviation, SLLDC, UDA, etc. So the Land Development and, Sri Lanka Land Development Corporation, or the Urban Development Authority. They have most of the wetlands, but also there are some are private. There's the Department of Irrigation owns a wetland in this area. And it's not only this one who owns it, it's also the other stakeholders around. And that is what I mean with fragmented ownership. I just have now to look here at my example, that's because otherwise I don't get them all right. I'm taking the example I know best, the Talangama wetland. So Talangama wetland, the custodian is the irrigation department. But then of course the CAA has a tremendous stake on it because the Talangama wetland is part of an environmental protected area, one of 14 in the whole country. So it's a very, very important one. But then of course there's the Department of Wildlife, which also says, no, we are already taking care of this. And then there is the Sri Lanka Land Development Corporation, which makes a lot of buildings and flood protection. There's the Road Development Authority, which says we actually take care of all the roads around the band. There is the Urban Development Authority, who says that's all a bigger piece, that's a piece in the big plan of urban development. And then there comes the Kadovela Municipal Council, and so they're all in the Kadovela area, and we are actually in charge, so nothing goes without us. And Yeah, then there's these farmer associations. Actually, some of these farmers are very noisy, very loud, so they are actually this very strong stakeholder, also there are only very few. There's the Telangana Wetland Watch, which is also around, and I probably have forgotten some. Yeah, of course, the Ministry of Agriculture, the Department of Agriculture is also paddy fields. So whom do we have to ask if something goes wrong there? Who is in charge? Who should be informed at least? Who cares actually? So someone puts a signboard up, someone else puts it down, someone else puts it up again. Who decides? And then we have a big problem there. Bikers, we have biker gangs, motorbikes. They come every evening, they come on the weekends, it's a protected area by CEA. There's a signboard from CEA saying don't make unnecessary noise. Who cares? Do you think these bikers read these signboards? They come with 50 bikers and they make oh god, now I awoke someone in the back. Oh sorry for this. They drive up and down, and yeah, we have a biodiversity. It's a hotspot for birds. There are over 100 bird species. The bikers don't care. So whom should I ask now? CEA? Hardly see any CEA officer in the area. The irrigation department, the custodian, doesn't care. The irrigation department cares only for that there's enough water to feed the paddy fields. That's their mandate. Paddy fields, water quantity. Water quality is this word they don't know. And it's mostly water quantity. So if someone, like the farmer, said, there's not enough water, and there are two farmer associations who always struggle and fight. And they say there's not enough water, okay, then we have to dredge the lake, make it bigger, destroy all these marshes and these wetlands and these strange trees and this what other people call biodiversity. That's okay with us. I'm irrigation department, so because we need more water. So many stakeholders there, then stakeholders with a bias because they have only a particular stake in this wetland. That's a very big risk. And then there come these other stakeholders. Stakeholders I didn't listen. The National Aquaculture Development Authority. They come to the lake and say, hey, we have a mandate to make shrimp farming. That's a nice lake for shrimp farming. So they call for a community meeting. That's very funny in such an area to call for a community meeting because I will come up to this later. Most of the community members, they work in town, they are not there. So there comes in a few people for this community meeting and the National Aquaculture Development Authority says you all will become rich, we make now shrimp farming. I'm raising my hand and say, did you inform the custodian of the lakes, irrigation department? No, why? We don't know who's the custodian here, we don't care. Our mandate is to make shrimp farming. Did you inform the Central Environment Authority? Because actually it's a protected area which only allows certain activities and others not. No, don't know about this. But shrimp farming is the future, and so we want to make shrimp farming. Wow. So to stop them, we had to go to the Director General of the National Aquaculture Development Authority and ask them, and told him, look, it's a bit complicated at this place. There's so many other stakeholders, and you will run into so many legal problems. Please call your stuff back. He did. Smart person. So I can tell you more of such stories where you will see that wetlands have custodians, but these custodians might have a bias, and that there are many other stakeholders, even governmental stakeholders, who should respect the policies which the government has put in place, but with their own bias again are undermining it. I don't want to run out of time.
No, just to clarify, Dr. Drexel, we all know that dumping wastes into wetland, the urgent threats as we know are just wetlands used as wastelands. But you pointed out that for farming, they use shrimp farming, and also for paddy fields, 60% of wetlands are gone. You mentioned that, right?
Yeah. Over 60% are gone in the last, since 1959 to 2018, they calculated that 63%, 0.47 are gone.
Wow.
Such stories where our wetlands under real threat and where we have to take care, where we have to make clear that the parties in charge, the custodians, the owners, that there's a platform of communication, that it doesn't depend on a small NGO to inform the other stakeholders if something goes wrong at the lake. And so far there's no platform and a lot can go wrong.
Thank you, Dr. Drexel, for pointing out the fragmented ownership of this issue, because this is a national event, there are authorities presented here, and I hope it will be, this is a good addressing of the issue. So we might get.
Yeah, I hope I stimulated some responses.
Okay, thank you. Now, building on that perspective, now let's move on to culture. Dr. Jayewardenepura, in many traditional societies, nature is not separate from culture. So how are wetlands embedded within social structures, belief systems, and everyday practices in ways that influence how they are protected or used?
Right. When it's come to that point, then I would like to ask one question from the audience also. The thing is, have you ever come across the word of denier? Pera denier, Gadala denier, Abul denier, and also Pani denier. There are different kind of denier in Sri Lanka. So what's the meaning of that? So that is the one of the best evidence for we had a proper understanding about the wetlands. So when we define what is a denier is a kind of small valley or a dell. The thing is always, then, as we all know, we know what are the features of a dell or a small valley. So what kind of things were available? So accordingly, when we go through this identification, we can understand that we had a clear idea about the place where should the human habitat should be placed. So that is the first point we need to understand. The other thing is, so when it's come to then I don't need to discuss about the wetland because it is already defined. So because of that, when we are moving to the indigenous knowledge aspect, unfortunately in Sri Lanka, most of the people are not aware about our heritage. The thing is, when we move to the date 19th of April in 2018, Sri Lankan Cascade Tank Irrigation System, it was nominated as a globally important agricultural heritage system by Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. So why I'm talking about this point here, the thing is, so in Sri Lanka and also in the Asian context, based on this Asia-oriented knowledge, we cannot separate different entities from different contexts. The thing is, the context is same and also the different entities are working as a system. For instance, so when we are talking about the wetland, we cannot actually forget about the irrigation system. So when we are talking about the irrigation systems, we cannot actually forget about the wetland. For instance, then Tinsley, one of the scholars in the world in 1935, he pointed out that the environment cannot be separated. The same kind of idea was presented by E.P. Odin also in 1959. The same idea from different two perspectives. The thing is, so when you study about the formation of a tank, there is a special place. It is known as Godavala. Godavala is the place the water is coming from the canals to the main irrigation tank, but also there is a place that is working as a silt trapping hole. The thing is, it was actually purposely maintained by our ancient people to safeguard the irrigation systems, and also it was actually, even today it is doing a very valuable service for the biodiversity conservation. And also, when we go to our traditional knowledge systems, we know that there are different kind of places. Actually, they were named as sacred places, but also the orientation was to safeguard the sacred places around our traditional villages, especially in the Cascade Tank villages. What are those places? So one place is Sanhida, Panambadi, Gasa, and also Vavihattave Devale. If I come in English medium, the thing is that the shrine which is located beyond the tank bund, and also the tree which used to tie vows, and also the sacred tree of a village. Almost every these sacred places actually located in the very important places that were very supportive for the biodiversity conservation in the village. So because of that, people actually they had a feeling of nobleness for those places. Because of that, indirectly they were safeguarded by a community effect. The other thing is, so when we are coming up with another example, how the indigenous knowledge actually directly affected for the safeguarding the wetland. The main importance is in our traditional village systems. Even today, I will come up with the examples. There are people, there are village traditional leaders who are actively supporting for this kind of conservation. Very good examples can be seen from Palugassawa, Moragassawa, and also Bellankadal, and also Kalava. And also there are many other areas in Sri Lanka, especially North Central Province in Sri Lanka. So what is the task? If I name some of the people, there are I will tell in Sinhala first. The thing is that those people are Anumathirala, Danumathirala, Gammathirala. So those people, Velvidani, Velvidani, those are the people who had a proper understanding about the nature and also biodiversity of the area. Because especially when I talk about the Gammathirala, we can introduce him as the person who is in charge of the village. Because if there is anyone who want to go to the marshy lands and also these kind of very special focal points of the area, definitely they need to have the permission from those people. So that is the knowledge we had in our traditional village system. Even today it is available. So the thing is, I think the time we have?
We have around 20 seconds.
20 seconds, right? Anyway. So anyway, I have concluded all these things within a very stipulated time period. So the thing is, so because this knowledge is very important, because indigenous knowledge is very significant for everything. Because of the thing is, when I come with examples, the world very important international bodies just like LINK program, local and indigenous knowledge system program, and also Indigenous Nations University, and also especially the Murdoch University in Australia, and also there are different kind of bodies and also universities. They are safeguarding this knowledge because this knowledge is universal. Because we actually, the thing is, we cannot separate this knowledge system from one to one. So if we are looking at one entity, definitely we are missing all other things. So understanding these things should be done based on the contextual understanding perspective. So thank you very much.
Yes, sir. So we have heard that the threats were, one of the threats, Dr. Ajit Gunawardena mentioned that there was a lack of ownership. There was no ownership, and in culture previously, as you mentioned, they had noble feeling for places, and
yes,
also they had ownership because they have to ask someone to use to get permissions and use those things.
Yes.
So traditional wisdom and culture certainly is certainly important for the conservation of wetlands. Thank you so much, Dr. Jayewardenepura, for that insightful answer. Now, extending that point, Senior Professor Ranasinghe, do our present environmental and social impact assessment processes adequately address cultural and community dimensions, or do they still prioritize mainly ecological indicators? What needs to change?
Yes, thank you very much. In fact, I think during the process of the whole discussion, we learned a lot. The wetlands, and my colleague Dr. Pei mentioned from his own practical examples, the challenges of wetlands. And whole thing is because still it's not entirely protected. It's not been identified properly. Maybe even today from this Dr. Ajit Gunawarden's lecture, people would have known much more than what is a wetland. Because when you, just when the name is mentioned, you feel that it's some kind of a paddy land, that it's a wetland. I mean that muddy, soggy look, but it's not. There's so many wetlands under the category of wetlands, coastal wetlands, then the inland wetlands, even a tank is a wetland. And we have in Sri Lanka prepared this National Wetland Directory, which has 89 wetlands, but it doesn't have any legal status. And the only legal status of a wetland is that if it comes under the National Environment Act as a environmentally sensitive area, but even that we know the plight of that one. Even Kalangama was an environmentally sensitive area, and see how many issues are there. And also if it is coming under a protected area, then of course it comes under the Fauna and Flora Protection Ordinance. So the whole thing is that it doesn't have proper recognition and also proper protection. Good that the National Directory of Wetlands came into being some years ago, so that at least, what is there, and maybe not so much the cultural perspectives, but at least what are the animals, what are the plants which are there is at least known, and the location. But we need to know much more about it. Like my friend at the corner mentioned, so many things about these deniers and also these cascade systems which are very, very prominent in the North Central province. So what I'm saying is that, under the National Environment Act, EIA is a very important tool, right? So that's really a very important tool. And because of that, we can really evaluate the impacts of any development projects to the environment, including biological impacts, physical impacts, and also social impacts. But it really needs some kind of a legal status. For example, like a wetland, if it doesn't come under any laws or even any protected areas, then it's just based on the idea of the person who goes there to evaluate. The sociologist per se. And if he feels, oh my God, no, this is just a dump, it doesn't have any value, and that doesn't mean that he doesn't know about it. He may not even know about it, and what he says, he speaks to few people, and they say, okay, this is where we put our garbage. Then, it doesn't have any value. So that in the environment impact assessment, it doesn't qualify as an important ecosystem to be preserved. So, these are there. So this has to be mentioned. And even if it is preserved under the Ramsar, under the any other the environment sensitive area category, we listen to my friend, and he is having personal problems in trying to protect it. So it's not, anything is not easy, everything is difficult. So I feel that I honestly feel that not only wetlands but even the cultural traditional knowledge is not entirely or properly encompassed in the EIA process. It's up to the sociologist, and it's up to his credentials. If he says, okay, this is a job to tick, then most of the things may get uncovered. But if he is really a person who likes to talk to people and just mingle with people and get their perspectives, then it happens. So it can't be like that. Nothing can be subjective, it has to be objective. So therefore, in the EIA process, we need to have a separate agenda, separate item, cultural impact assessment, which is not there. Earlier, even the archaeological impact assessment was not there, but now for most of the projects, archaeological impact assessment done by not just the EIA team, even by the Department of Archaeology is a must. So likewise, I propose that there has to be a cultural impact assessment which encompasses traditional knowledge, the little intricacies of the wetland, to the livelihoods, to the water retention, to the just the day-to-day living, not only of people but the animals and plants, has to be included in that one. So I feel that unless and until it is there, it won't be. And also, I think you might ask later on in the second round, but I would like to say that if this the stakeholder consultation, usually, if we just follow the law, I mean, the process of EIS, you might say, okay, once you have prepared the EIA report, you open it to 30 days consultation to the stakeholders, which is really, it really is not effective, because when you put it in various places, I mean, people are not really bothered to go to these divisional secretariats or Pradesh Sabhas just to have a look at it, unless you are an NGO who really wants to, just justify yourself. So therefore, this consultation has to be done by the EIA team, and the client should ensure that it is done. I mean, it's client's baby, finally, not the EIA team, that all the stakeholders, including the indigenous people, the traditional people, even everybody has to be consulted and has to be shown in the written form as minutes of meetings, and not to say, okay, I consulted this one, no. It should be included in the minutes of the meeting, so that the CEA or whoever the project approving agency gets the assurance that these people have consulted everyone and all their concerns are incorporated into this project, and maybe it might even change the design. So I mean that is very important. Thank you.
Senior Professor Ranasinghe, can we hope that there will be a cultural impact assessment and also getting consent from the stakeholders? Can we see it in the near future? What do you think?
It has to be seen, because we have this whole event. I think CA is part and parcel of it, and we see many CA officers in front of us, and so it's your baby. I mean, what we have seen is that it is a must. It is a need. And that is how archaeological impact assessment also came into being. That is how disaster, climate change perspectives also came into being in the terms of references. Earlier, although climate change was just gaping and sitting in front of us, giving all the trouble, it was never there in terms of references. But now it has been included. And I'll go a step further. In fact, in EIS, there was this not only the cost-benefit analysis, but environmental cost-benefit analysis was there, where all these environmental impacts, for example, like the wetland, okay, not only just normal the construction cost, but the cost of mitigation, cost of the value, the valuation of these natural assets, and cost of preservation, conservation also had to be included in the EIA report as a chapter. But now of late it's been removed, I hear, unfortunately I would say, because that is because, I mean, there's not enough expertise to do that. I mean, you really have to have capacity building programs to have that expertise, not to remove it from the terms of reference as a policy decision, right? So I very much urge the Central Environment Authority for two things. One is to include this cultural impact assessment as mandatory, and also not to remove but just reinstate the environmental cost benefit analysis, at least for the environment impact assessment project. May not be IE and others, but for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the wonderful insights and proposing these ideas to the authorities. Thank you. And we have a question from Ms. Mundakini Ranasinghe. What role can national institutions such as the Central Environmental Authority play in strengthening the connection between traditional knowledge and contemporary wetland conservation?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to say in our constitution, we all are bound to protect our nature, right? So in environmental governance in Sri Lanka is not an easy task, but our institution take place. We are the people who dealing with the National Environmental Act in Sri Lanka, which was established in 1980s, and now it's more than 14 years. So gladly, madam, I would like to say we are in the amendment of our act. So we try to incorporate all the environmental concerns, climate change concerns, the improvement of EIA procedures, the wetland management concerns in our new upcoming amendment of our act. So when we come to the national institution to bridging the traditional knowledge with the conservation aspects, we can play a different kind of roles there. So first, as a regulator, I told you that we are in the process of amendment of our act. So we incorporate the wetland management provision in there. So that wetlands that not protected by any other laws. Dr. said that there is different kind of custodian issues there. So we try to identify what are the wetlands that not protected by any other laws. Then we identify those wetlands that need to be it need to be fully conserved or it can be managed. So once wetland we identify it as a managed wetland, not only their social values, we consider the hydrology, we consider the ecology as well as the social. So when we analyzing those wetlands that need to be managed not as fully conserved, we can incorporate our traditional knowledge and norms to that regulation. Then we can give the legal entity to that traditional norms and knowledge. So it's as a role of a regulator. And also there is a concept called payment of ecosystem services, right? So we can, there is two parties, there's the beneficiaries and the service providers. I'm explaining this concept as an example. Assume there is a good mangrove patch and there is a good well-established ecotourism there. Also, there are a village community that protect that mangrove patch. So we can introduce that the profit that gain from the tourism, the portion of the profit, then we can allocate to the conservator for the conservation activities. It's a win-win situation and it's a co-management. So for that monetary transaction, there should be a credibility. So the government institution can play a role that the credibility develop both parties. So it's as a facilitator, our institution or the other institution can play that role. Also, finally, you all know the CEA has well-established environmental pioneer program. So we can incorporate these norms and traditional know-hows to our curricula. Also, we can bring our scientists and the communities in a single platform, and we can share, we can document this knowledge, and we can transfer this knowledge to our generation yet to come. So likewise, CEA-like institution can play a regulator role, as a facilitator role, as well as an educator role for the more sustainable conservation of wetlands.
Thank you, Ms. Ranasinghe, for that wonderful answer. It answered the question, and institutions like CEA and also other relevant parties play as a regulating body and also a facilitating body, and also they are making amendments now to improve the situation. So thank you to the authorities that for considering the conservation of wetlands. Now we are moving to our next round of questions. This round focuses on policy and reforms so that we can sustain and safeguard wetlands, because we cannot go back and reverse the damages, but we can certainly improve the situation. So to start with, again, Ms. Mandakini Ranasinghe, how can we build a long-term sense of responsibility among communities for wetland protection?
Yeah. So actually there should be a long-term responsibilities, because it's not enough short-term awareness programs there. So to build the long-term responsibility, I earlier told you that we have to build a co-management system there. in protected area management concept, there is a new concept called management of protected area in other effective based management measures called as OECMs. So in that OECMs, we simply co-manage with the authorities and the communities. So the community has the participation of the decision making, planning, management, and they feel that they are not they also feel that they are the part of that wetland. So they feel that they are the guardian of wetlands. So they eventually move to protect the wetland to their day-to-day life. Also, we can link the conservation into the livelihood security. So once we link conservation aspect to the livelihood security, ultimately conservation should be there to enhance our livelihood. So for that, we can enhance their we can promote ecotourism, and also we can promote wetland-based livelihood, sustainable fishing practices. Like I earlier told you that pest-like systems, then there is a win-win situation. So people tend to move forward to secure their livelihood. They tend to conserve the nature, and also we have to change the attitudes of the people, that they should feel that we need to protect these wetlands, we have to conserve this wetland for the future generation. So for that, we have to identify who are the leaders, upcoming leaders. We have to promote, organize wetland communities, and we have to identify what are the leaders, and we can empower those leaders through education and their knowledge and the leadership qualities. Then we can improve their engagement to active participation for the wetland conservation. Likewise, not as a separate factor, we have to contribute each and every person to the conservation. It should be their day-to-day life, not as rules and regulation. Likewise, once it feel like more day-to-day life, they are routinely think, then the conservation, and it should be very resilient and it can be sustainable.
Yes, Ms. Ranasinghe, connecting conservation activities with livelihoods is such a great idea. We can promote ecotourism to make that happen. Is there anything other than ecotourism as livelihood activities that we can?
Most of the time, the prominent thing is ecotourism, but we can encourage some sustainable fishing practices. All the things are, I think all the things are interconnected, because once we can say it is tourism industry, it is a research and curricular industry, or we can say it like fishing industry, but ultimately all the things are an interconnected network. So we can't say this factor is we have to develop, but we have to take holistic approach to enhance the conservation aspects.
Yes, thank you so much, Ms. Ranasinghe. Important that all the people, all the stakeholders that have the relevance with wetlands should have the awareness, I mean a sense of responsibility at first, and then connecting livelihoods with connecting livelihood activities with conservation of wetlands. Dear Senior Professor Hemanthi Ranasinghe, continuing from what we left, I mean, you suggested that cultural impact assessment and also some other strategies you proposed. So, what do you think would immediately improve how decisions affecting wetlands are made, like immediately?
Okay, thank you very much. So now I'm not only talking about this EIA or SIA, but I mean, while we are on the subject, I have to say that the Central Environment Authority, like Hemanthi mentioned, is, I think these amendments had already been approved by the Cabinet, right? So payment for ecosystem services is not included there, but it's a good thing to have. Maybe we will need to promote it a little further, and then it can be included. But it's a good thing, but maybe we need to encourage people to engage in that much more. They have included strategic environment assessment, which is actually looking at the environment at a higher level. So when we look at it, I mean, I think y'all may have or hopes to, go out to other countries to explore in the future. So when you go up on the plane, the country that you see and the country you see while you're on the land is two different things. So you see a better picture from the top, right? So strategic environment assessment is like that, where, I mean, at the top you see, then you see all these connections, like I think Dr. Gunawardena is a very good example of that one. Really a salute to him for going all these to nooks and corners of the environment and places to bring all that in a nutshell to us. So, I mean, all these interconnections that we talked about can be better seen at the top. So, when environment assessments has been done at the high level, it's much easier to identify the possible impacts to all these our wetlands and other ecosystems by projects. So that is already done, so it's on the way. And also I would like to propose, and since we are talking about the wetlands, but I'm not only talking about the wetlands, I'm talking about all the ecosystems, that at one point there was under Minister Mangala yes, the finance minister, right? He came up with this very nice proposal, just like in line with what Mrs. Mandakini said, that it should be the people along with the authorities who should conserve the environment. So he developed, it's not a green, let's say it's Green Club, right? But it's an official thing under the Pradesh Sabha, joint ownership with the Pradesh Sabha chairman and a civil society person, and they will, and some money is being allocated by the treasury for all this, so that they will decide about any improvements or any conservation activities in their own village or in the Pradesh Sabha area. So that is joint management. And if that is there, then even what my friend said, Dr. Pei said, okay, if Thalangama wetland or any other wetland, people want shrimp farming, people want anything else, people want some recreation, that would be their proposal. Because it would be somebody who will be coming from outside to get their benefit from that location, but it will be for them, by them. So, so therefore, that kind of societies has to be built. And with regard to wetlands, at least a multi-stakeholder wetland advisory committee has to be set up for all the significant wetlands and even otherwise. And that is why I said in village level would be better, so that the participation would be the local people and maybe the scientists who will know about the science of that, the authorities, Central Environment Authority or the regional officers, or the authorities and maybe NGOs who are having some interest in that one, so that they will function as advisory committee, and with time they should have some kind of a legal status also, because when you don't have legal status, I mean, your words just go in the air and nobody listens to you. So I mean, with time it has to be done. Otherwise, we can talk about it on a day, and maybe next year also, World Wetland Day, we can talk about something, but these things will be only talk. So we need to walk the talk, and it is a good forum for that, because we have all the relevant stakeholders here, authorities, the interest parties, and the scientists, people who are excelling in indigenous knowledge. In fact, I one time was the director of the Sri Lanka Resource Centre for Indigenous Knowledge, which you could not mention. So maybe what you must have been thinking, what's my connection to this indigenous knowledge? In fact, I have come here also to teach environment in a row a long time ago. So therefore, I mean, that's what we should do. Thank you very much.
First of all, sorry for not mentioning that. And yes, you previously also mentioned that legal status to wetlands would help, right? So don't we now have the legal? I mean, we cannot dump up.
We don't have legal status unless it is under the the National Environment Act identified as a environmentally sensitive area, and Talanga wetland is one of that, right? And we have few wetlands which come under the environmentally sensitive areas that comes under the aegis of the Central Environmental Authority. And then some wetlands come under the Department of Forest, and some mostly under the Department of Wildlife Conservation. And then according to their own acts, like the Flora and Fauna Protection Ordinance, Forest Ordinance, they can be protected. Mangroves under the Forest Ordinance can be protected, but not all the mangroves are under the Forest Department, but some, right? So otherwise, any other wetland which appears here and there are not protected, although they had been mostly captured in the National Wetland Directory, which is published by the Center on Environment Authority some time ago. So since we have that information, at least maybe we can assess it again, and if we could gazette them as appropriate, I think that would be a good way to move forward.
Yes, Senior Professor Hemanthi, Ranasinghe. Wetland Advisory Board and legal status, yes, it would greatly help, and yes, it would immediately improve the situation, we hope. Now, Dr. Drexel, where do you see the greatest opportunity for policy and community knowledge to work together better?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's a challenge, and let me just decluster this question a bit. So we have here the political knowledge, the policy knowledge, and we have here the traditional knowledge. And again, I'm coming from an area which is rapidly urbanizing. I don't envy the CEA. The CEA has a very, very challenging task. They are representing in this context, together with some other institutions, this policy knowledge, so which is protection, conservation, integration, classification, mapping, regulating wetlands, and the highest state which you can do is that you even declare wetland an environmentally protected area. As I said, only 14 in the whole country, and you just make a gazette. What else can you do? So, and that's a political knowledge. There's exactly written in what is allowed. And then comes the Road Development Authority and says we put a 4-lane highway across the wetland. I don't want to be in your shoes. Yeah. So the institution, one institution challenging another institution, both are representing the government, both say the law is on our side. As an observer, it's frustrating. As someone who lives there, very frustrating. Anyway, in this case, wetlands won, and it's very encouraging. And as Madame said, yes, there are already efforts even to declare the right of wetlands, the right of nature. In some countries, wetlands actually, nature has a right to exist and can be embodied in a legal discourse. We are not yet there in Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, as you learned from what we said before, there are so many stakeholders who all say what should be done with the wetland for their purposes, that we at the end could say the wetland itself, with all the different ecosystem services, this complexity, has a right on its own, and not only that one picks out this ecosystem service and the other one. That would be a dream. Now let me just say another word about this traditional knowledge. In a rapidly urbanizing area, this what was before described so often by every speaker, this traditional knowledge handed over from generation to generation, where people and their livelihoods depend on the wetland, where they grew up with this, where they know the traditional plants. This is completely vanishing in urban and peri-urban areas. Who is the traditional fishing community around Lake Byron? Even in my area, Talangama wetlands, that's peri-urban. 95% of the population only moved there in the last 20 years. If you want to have a house where you have a lake view, you have to pay 4 million per perch. 4 million rupees per perch, and there are enough people who pay this. Everyone would like to live in such a nice environment, and the farmers are selling the land. The original population is going away. Even the farmers don't want that their kids have still this hard job of working in the paddy fields or with the buffaloes. They are also moving away. So the traditional village population, and this is the knowledge of the area, is vanishing. And that's a very big challenge in the peri-urban areas. There are today bungalows, they're rich people, they work in town. So if you make a community meeting, that are all business people, it's lawyers. They work in town somewhere, they don't come for a village meeting. And so the traditional knowledge, where do you find it? And that's then, you have to restart. In these areas, it's not like in rural areas, we have to restart the education. We have to restart it. And what your university is doing here, that's so spot on. It's fantastic. You are the core of this restart program. So congratulations to your existence, and congratulations to CEA with its educational programs targeting the young people, the school programs. That's so important, especially in these peri-urban areas where the traditional knowledge is eroding. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Drexel. You mentioned unique threats from the beginning, and now farmers moving from the original places, selling for economic benefits. There are also issues, but yeah, we can see opportunities in institutions such as universities and schools where we can promote the knowledge and the importance of conserving wetlands. Thank you so much, Dr. Drexel. Now, the final question of this second round is to Dr. Jayewardenepura. How does protecting cultural heritage and traditional livelihoods strengthen long-term wetland sustainability?
Right, so I will start the answer for this question like this. The thing is, almost everyone in the world, in the academia also asking how to validate this knowledge, how to validate indigenous knowledge. So if you are thinking that, so the beginning of the industrial revolution was actually the remarkable year is 1760. So, but when we consider about the world very first civilization, well-developed civilization came into existence in before 4,000 years. It is the Mesopotamian civilization, or we can call it as Euphrates Tigris civilization. So, how until the 1760 we survived based on the traditional knowledge. We know that in the period of King Parakrambahu, we exported rice to other countries. The thing is, very simple example, all we know. So the validation is like that. It is a timely tested knowledge. Because of that, even for the wetland, so when we consider basically cascade tank system in Sri Lanka and also the biodiversity conservation practices in Sri Lanka, we have to actually go back and rethink what kind of uses were available for the community through this preservation and conservation process. So what are the uses? Actually, the wetlands and also water bodies and also environmental entities and almost everything around them, they were not so far away from them. They were part of their lives. So that is the main mechanism. So the community-based development based on the utilization of the subject fields like anthropology, sociology and also the geography, those subjects actually should be rethink and rescheduled to utilize in the society. So that is the thing, basic thing. So how do we understand these things, the wetland conservation? First we have to understand the people who lived in those society. If I tell these things in a nutshell, this knowledge, the traditional knowledge is something very unique. If I tell in Sinhala, Danahuren, Kalahuren, Perahuren, Parapuren Nadanuma, that is the knowledge we got through the practice and also through the knowledge and also through the experience and also through the generation. So because of that, this timely tested and also trial and error oriented this knowledge can be utilized for everything. So that is the basic phenomena. So the thing is, when we are coming up with the wetland conservation, the knowledge sharing is the very important thing. You know that Nelson Mandela said that the most powerful weapon in the world is the education. But I am telling that the educating people is the most valuable thing. So why I am telling that, now the most of the development project, they have forgotten the rural people. But also when we are coming to the census, according to the census reports, in Sri Lanka, even today, there are around 77% to 81% people who are related to the rural communities. So the thing is, when we are implementing, when we are planning our development project, national scale things, international scale things, what we need to do is, first we have to actually focus on the village people. So once again I am coming to the wetlands. You know that there are different places in the traditional special tank, cascade tank village, Kattakaduwa. Kattakaduwa is not merely a place that actually works as an interceptor or that is a barrier for going salt and also unnecessary heavy metal and also pollutions to the paddy field. But also it works as a place that provided livelihood for the people. Actually they collected reed, sledge and also all the necessity, actually green, what they ate, they consume from those places. So that cycle should be, we don't need to reestablish, but also it is available in the village scale. So what we need to do is, we need to re-understand that net, we need to share that knowledge among the people who are living in the rural community. So I think that is the basic thing. Then as I told you earlier also, dear people of the audience also, we have to rethink, because most of us also are representing the different rural communities, including me. So we are the knowledge bearers. So why I am telling that, because of with this rural knowledge systems, traditional knowledge systems are very important, because it is very cost effective. We know that because traditionally we have done all those things. Once again, we don't need to rethink about those things. Only one thing is, we need to adapt those things with the scientific understanding, because most of the things cannot be scientifically defined. But also there are some kind of things that have been scientifically validated, but also those validations is also not available since it is timely tested. So once again, I am requesting that we need to actually educate people, and community-based learning and also utilization of resources based on the sustainable utilization should be educated for the people. So that is the final message with that.
Thank you, Dr. Jayewardenepura, for that wonderful insight, because there is knowledge existing in village level things, and so as you mentioned, education is very powerful. So thank you so much once again. Now the 2 rounds of discussion is over, and let's open the floor to the audience. Audience, we have 30 minutes of question and answer session. If you have a question, please raise your hand. A mic will be provided to you. Please state your name and affiliation, and keep your questions concise and direct it to a specific panelist, so that we can accommodate as many participants as possible within the next 30 minutes. Thank you. Yes.
Good morning, Ms. Ranasinghe. I'm in Hafradados. I would like to direct this question to you. Who should take the lead in wetland governance? Central government, local authorities, or multi-stakeholder partnerships?
In terms of the regulatory body, we have to take a main role, central governance, but earlier also I told you that we have to be a collaborative approach to gain maximum benefit from our efforts. So not only the central government, the others, local authorities, also the stakeholders should be a co-manage and protect our wetlands, because this era is not governed by the regulations, rules. We should participate in a coexistence should be there to more sustainable conservation. So everybody should be take part there.
Thank you for that answer. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So I'm from Navala. I have it's my hometown, so which is kind of like an island. So we are being surrounded by marshlands, wetlands, and water bodies. So in the past couple of decades, I have seen that the area has changed drastically. So my question is not specifically to one person, just how does this political economy and the infrastructure and also the real estate value of the area and also certain major development projects, because we see that there are so many luxury apartments are happening, but overseeing the wetlands and the water bodies, but not very much concerned to the wetlands or the water bodies nearby, because I live close to a water body which comes an end in my garden, but I see a lot of garbage that is there, which was not the case like a couple of decades ago. So I was wondering, how does this real estate value, then the development projects, and also sometimes electoral politics in the area, how does this affect protecting wetlands?
I think this question has multiple dimensions, and it would be suitable if Senior Professor Hemanthi Ranasinghe starts the discussion. Initially, it was about the change in how wetland, not only wetlands, there were wetlands and marshlands. Now major development projects have happened, luxury apartments have been built, and then electoral politics were there. So, actually, it stems to the initial issue I highlighted, because when there's no protection status and when there's no information with regard to that wetland, and it just then the wetlands will be considered as just wastelands. And that is why most of the the garbage is being dumped in wetlands, including long time ago, even including Pradesh Sabhas. I have seen in Matale, Pradesh Sabha, go and dump their waste, the daily collections, to the wetlands. And even in Mutturajuru, it's the same. So why? Because they had not got any protection status or any other conservation status, so that they are considered as wastelands. So unless and until the wetlands in our country are examined closely, we have really, the country has done, the CA has taken the initiative and really documented them, 89 of them. So, based on that, can go a little further and just to evaluate not only this whether how many indigenous species are there, how many species in the red data book is there, then only you will conserve it. No, you have to take all these things. It is called sustainable development. What's the economic value of this wetland to the in and around people, and what is the biological value? What is the biological value was mentioned, no? From this Dr. Ajit Gunawarden's talk, and not only, they act as sponge, they act as biodiversity repositories, and they act as climate safeguards, so many things. and then also what are the social values. All this has to be taken, and then only you will evaluate, then you will have to put it out for conservation. But that might take a longer time. While it's happening, I would like to propose the other one, which is the multi-stakeholder Wetland Advisory Committee, which can be done immediately under the aegis of not so much CA, but under the aegis of the district administration or the divisional administration, whoever really has some right on that land. And then, things will not happen haphazardly. Whoever comes for a development project, let alone IE proceedings there, but even to start the scoping, they will have to talk to this committee, and they will advise what to do. Is it? Yes, thank you. You'd like
The CAE first.
Yeah, I told you that we are now in the process of the amendment of our act. So we identify those issues there. So that's why we incorporate our act, this strategic environmental assessment. So now by strategic environmental assessment, Madam told you earlier, we look at the bird eye view to the Sri Lanka physical planning. Then we identify what are the areas need to be conserved, what are the areas need to be developed. So we apply this to the policies and regulation. So I think it's very effective approach to the conservation. On the other hand, now we are putting some strict regulations. Now we have the authority, once Act is amended, we have the authorities to take action against local authorities who are doing those kind of not aligning with our regulations. Also, we give high penalties for the waste dumping. It can be $1 million fine. So I think that kind of strict regulation also can be implemented to control these kind of activities. So I think in future it can be a very good environment to you all.
Yeah, if you allow. I like to bring another perspective to this. We all live in such an area where you live. We all see something where we wonder who is actually in charge here and who is doing something, and are they speaking to each other, and to whom should I go if I observe something which is irritating, which is somehow not going in the right direction. I was in a similar situation. So some 10 years ago, I drove my kids every day to school, passing a nice wetland area and full with garbage, right side, left side. In the night, the people are dumping big bags full of garbage, and I always told my kids, someone has to do here something. Yeah? Where are the authorities? So always where are they, the authorities? I had an opportunity to visit in CAA, and I spoke with them and saw that for the whole country, in this department, which would be in charge of this, there were maybe 10 people, not even 10 people. And they're in charge of the whole country. And we put all our, you are responsible. We put all this on their shoulders, and we say, we, the community, we need you have to organize, you have to regulate, you have to send your officers, environmental officers, and you have to do this. And I think that's a wrong approach. And I think we as community members, we have responsibility. And so at that time, we started this Telangana Wetland Watch, and we started cleaning. We started very small, and we cleaned the roads. And then we were surprised. Cars stopped, and they said, thank you. And we wondered, and some brought us food while we were cleaning, and some brought us drinks. And apparently, people were appreciative, but nobody wanted to do the first step. And so I think it's very important that we also as community members take on responsibility, inform us, go to the municipality, ask who is in charge here actually, who is doing, who are the other stakeholders, understanding not only their mandate and what they would like to do, talk the talk, but also which capacities do they have and which capacity limitations do they have to walk the talk, or to walk the walk. And then we as community have to come in, and maybe we can make an initiative, we can make a community-based something, and we can help. They need our help. We cannot just always say they have to do it. I think that's a wrong approach in a country which is still very dirty at all the ends, which we see there's still so many things going wrong, and then we always ask for the authorities to do the job. So let's start. Yeah? Let's start at our end. There are always in every community some people who have the means, who are more responsible, who are thinking, and who can take over and help.
Thank you, Dr. Drexel. I hope it answered the question. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? Any questions from the audience?
Good morning. I'm Sadhana. Dr. Drexel, my question is, how has the perception of wetlands changed from unusual lands to national infrastructure?
Screen. Changed by whom? I can speak for the people who live in the community and the people who before saw wetlands just as something where they can, wastelands, where they can dump stuff and nobody's responsible. We know that over the last 9 years where we are working, all the people in the community who know what we do in the NGO, that they are very responsible. The problems we have with those outsiders who come in the night, who actually don't live there, who pass through, and just see a green space where apparently nobody's watching and where they can dump their waste. That is a challenge. But otherwise I think there's an increasing consciousness and increasing awareness of the value of the wetlands because they see people are caring. So that's a part of what we do, which our moderator mentioned it from reading something from a newspaper. We have to show it, not only to know it, but by walking every morning in the rush hour, walking every evening in the rush hour and cleaning, they also see, apparently there are people who care. We're putting the dustbins up and we are cleaning them. And so people see someone cares. And we are speaking with everyone who doesn't care. So if everyone just throws something in the corner, we speak with them. And so I think there are possibilities to increase their awareness, which goes also through the education, by showing, giving good examples. So I think there is an increase. How far the increase is now at the national level or so, I don't know. We have to start small in our communities.
Sadhana, I hope that answered your question. Okay? Yeah, okay. Any more questions? We have time for some questions.
Good morning, I'm Chatrika. This question for Dr. Jayewardenepura. How can young people and universities contribute meaningfully to wetland preservation beyond awareness campaign?
Yes, Chatrika, the thing is, first we need to, as you all are the people who actually in a scholarly work, the thing is you need to read the work. How the other people in the world, they are working on these kind of things, and also what kind of strategies they are using. And also you have to read the very first publication that done by the, especially the foreign people regarding the very first status of Sri Lanka. Right? And also you know that there are a number of publications. So the thing is you have to go through all these things, then you can understand what kind of strategies are available. So if I tell some of them in a nutshell, you have to actually understand how did we connect with the nature. So what kind of connection we had. So once again, if I am briefing in the indigenous knowledge context, so we are still thinking that indigenous knowledge is some kind of thing just related to the belief system or some kind of thing. But it is not like that. But also it is consisted biological knowledge, environmental knowledge, chemistry, and also philosophy, literature, and also geology, and almost everything. So because of that, as scholars, what you need to do is you need to go through these things, and also you have to identify all the factors, and you need to try to develop frameworks to validate these things, because in the present world, the people are not accepting the knowledge without the scientific validation, modern day pure science validation. But anyway, through the based on the different kind of experiment level, because you all are the expertise of research methodology, what can be done is then you can actually develop models that combine qualitative and quantitative models together, and also you have to develop very good research approaches to test these things and disseminate that knowledge into the world. So I think it will be the most reliable way to share this knowledge among the people who are actually expecting those things in a very scientific scale.
Thank you, Dr. Jayewardenepura. Chaturika, did you get your answer?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? Anyone?
Good morning. I am Pumi. This question is from Senior Professor Hemanthi Ranasinghe. How do wetlands function as a natural buffers against the floods and coastal hazards? And are we using this potentially effectively in Sri Lanka?
Yes, actually one good example is the tsunami, because as Dr. Ajit Gunawarden said, mangroves also is a wetland, and among so many other wetlands, and associated with coastal areas. So they have especially important function of protecting the livelihoods, protecting the locations from wave surges and storms. So tsunami was of course an extreme event, but it was seen that in areas where they were framed by the World Wetlands, especially sand dunes and mangrove areas, the devastation was much less compared to when they were not there or they were destroyed. And Kalamatia was a good example of that one, and also it could be seen all the way in all the districts of the coast where tsunami hit. So it is a very important buffer while acting as these nursery areas for prawns and fish, and also facilitating fishermen's livelihoods. It also harbors a good biodiversity and also protects the location, the land from the negative coastal hazards, and these ones are really accelerating with the climate change also. Thank you.
Thank you, Senior Professor Hemanthi Ranasinghe. Any more questions?
Good morning, I am Nilukshi. I would like to ask a question, Ms. Mandakini Amarasinghe. Urban expansion is one of the biggest threats to wetlands. So, how can cities grow while still protecting these ecosystems?
For that, we have to well plan our cities. I believe that we have to go for the development as well as we have to preserve our natural environment. So for that, to achieve that situation, we have to well design and well organize our cities while preserving environment. Likewise, we can leave the green spaces there. We can allocate some portion of space to the greenery, and also we can preserve our wetland as it is, and we can use those wetlands as recreational activities. Likewise, the thing is, in Sri Lankan context, earlier our cities are not well planned, but now our authorities are there, urban development authorities were there. They are trying to develop the cities very organized manner. I think it's a good approach in Sri Lanka in future to conserve the nature while moving for the sustainable development.
Thank you, Ms. Amarasinghe. We have time for 2 more questions.
So just to add on the last question, That's exactly what my colleague here from the CEA said, that it's not only about setting regulations from one authority, but to work together with all the authorities. And in an urban context, there are very strong stakeholders. Everyone, the urban development authority is trying to plan for the city, the road development authority would like to put their road. Everyone has another idea. From the recreational perspective, they would like to make a jogging path around the wetland, but the wildlife department says no, this would endanger the biodiversity and the birds would go. So sitting together, planning together is one of the main activities which then the CEA can coordinate to get a compromise between all these different stakes and still to protect the wetland as good as possible.
Thank you, Dr. Drexel, for adding on to that question.
Good afternoon to everyone. I'm Akida. So I have a question. I don't think that's a question, but I wanted to know your opinion regarding the thing that I'm going to say, because currently I'm working on a research regarding the commodification of the wetland, urban wetland especially. So my area was regarding the Candy Lake. So when I was talking with the participants for the research, I got to know that especially with the current context, photography is one of the major points that we can see in the urban wetlands. So when we are having a conversation with the wildlife photographer, at the same time with the photo shoot photographers, we can see the differences in between their ideologies, because they were wondering why wetland is being in the threat, because they don't have an idea regarding that. Because they think like wetland is something is being very quiet, there's no any threat to that. Only the threat is coming from the sea or water pollution which is in the big water bodies. So when I was having a conversation with them, I got to know that the idea or the knowledge sharing among the grassroots level is somewhat okay, because when we are focusing the grassroots level, for example farmers, village people, but most of the time we forget some of the stakeholders are from the photography sector. So what do you think about it? If we educate them as well regarding the wetland, the importance of the wetland, would it be beneficiary in the future in terms of saving the wetlands?
You can answer.
Yeah, actually, this question feels very much at home to me, because I live in Kiribatgoda and I take this, walking path every day or almost every day, which runs through a wetland, which connects the Kandy Road to the Dalupitiya Road, right? And that is really, it had been a paddy land but abandoned, and it's a wetland. So I could see that the photography club, brings the photography students, and also even schools bring children sometimes to see that one. What I say is that if you want to protect something, you need to use it. So unless and until people are there, not everybody destroys it. People love it. That is, I think, the only natural wetland in the entire country, which is a natural walking path, right? So therefore, now, even if anybody, destroys it or tries to destroy it, it would be not the authorities only, but us who will stand against it. And one time it happened just before Aurdu season. Could see that all the fish in the stream had died. They were floating. To see that somebody has, brought the residue dye and put it to the waters. And I immediately complained to the Central Environment Authority, and they came to check. But unfortunately, we could not find the culprit, because it had a one-time thing. Without thinking, I just dumped the dye to the waters. So therefore, what I say is that even the photographers, even I did a video program there. The whole thing was done in the wetland, right? So, I mean, if you use it, you love it and you protect it. If you just say don't use it and put, just fencing around it, and I mean, God will save it only, right? But don't, I mean, it's not any, these things are not easy. It's good that they have selected these wetlands as a, as a topic to talk, because more are coming. That is especially the solar, the floating solar comes on these large tanks, and already it has been installed in some. So, I mean, they may have the economic benefits and also will have the benefits to produce renewable energy, but I mean, will it have the benefits for the lives there, and even the fishermen, even the cultural norms, cultural rituals, as well as the fish and wildlife living under the waters? Maybe not, right? So therefore, and not only that, but water sports are coming. We heard what happened to this Thalangam Lake and also Bolgoda Lake. I mean, Bolgoda, when you say Bolgoda, you only think about recreation now, nothing else. So therefore, I mean, for all this, I think there are so many levels that we have to take action. Of course, the authorities will take action. They also have to be promoted also to be more vigilant. But the vigilant cities and vigilant committees are the most important. If you see something and if you report, then something will happen. CA also has a hotline. You can immediately say, look here, these things are happening. Please come and visit, please investigate. But it should be you who would see it. Like me, spotting the fish dying and reported to the CA. So, I mean, so many people here. That's the beauty of having even this program in this university with all these university students. Thank you very much for your very eager questions. And so, I mean, we have to be informed citizens who will be sensitive, not only to our phones. Sorry about it, I also am like that, has become like that, but no, just not only the phone, but there are other things which will please us, which needs us. So we have to have that attitude and then love it and protect it to our best of our ability, and then others also will help us, and finally our ecosystem will be protected.
Thank you, Professor.
Very short. There's so many different types of photographers and people shooting at the lakes. The nicer the lakes, the more people you get. We have everyday people who take wedding photos. We have the TV stations next to it. Every day there's someone shooting a drama TV series around the lake. There are, of course, the school classes who come with their clubs or photographs clubs. And then someone is spotting the fishing cat. And next day you have hundreds of photographers there. And they try to get as close as possible, so they enter the wetlands at places where they are not allowed to enter, just to get the super shot. So they are actually those nice people, yeah, the wetland photographers, but they can behave also very unresponsible. Or there are all the birthday parties, where they have these nice, I don't know how they work, these bonbons which you pluck, and then a lot of small plastic particles come out, yeah? So, bang, and the super photo for the kid, and then they go home, yeah? And then we sit there and we say hundreds of small plastic pieces, which we cannot collect each one, yeah? And they become microplastic, and so there's a lot of things can go wrong. I don't have a solution for it. Such nice places just attract so many people who like to take advantage for their own shooting, filming ideas, yeah.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Drexel. Thank you, Senior Professor Ranasinghe also, because the quote unquote, if you want to protect it, use it. But I think use it correctly. Okay. So, Dr. Drexel, I have seen a video of you talking about how the communities, how we should take responsibility of our environment, because not only the authorities can solve everything, every issues that are happening in our environment. So yeah, I think that also should be highlighted. So I hope that was the last question from the audience, and now we are nearing the end of our discussion. But finally, if this is a humble request from me to the panelists, if you can give a short final take-home message to the audience, what would it be? Yeah, we can start from Dr. Jayewardenepura.
Then my final message is regarding the wetland and everything. Indigenous knowledge is not something nostalgic. It is not something to taste the past, but also there is a high impact of using in the present day. So find the roots and also do research as scholars, and also find the evidence and also try to prove the things that comes from generation to generation, and also do a universal impact to the society. So that's my message.
Thank you, Dr. Jayewardenepura.
I think I ask you all to be a responsible citizen in Sri Lanka and give your hands to conservation efforts that we are going to do daily life. So I think it's going to be a very resilient and sustainable future ahead.
Thank you.
I like to echo this and say, if it is to be, it's up to me. You are all the environmental guardians. You are the right generation. We need you. Don't just rely on the authorities. Please take responsibility. You are part of the community. You are part of those who live around wetlands. This is a wetland city.
Thank you, Dr. Professor.
Yes, I think I already voiced this. So there's so many stakeholders here at different levels. To us as citizens of this country, I would like to say that these are treasures which will be fast disappearing if we don't take care of it. And so therefore, be more vigilant, be more loving of the environment, and do your level best to study it, use it, and conserve it, and also to report it. That's the most important thing. So, and to the authorities, yes, you all have done a lot of work, and keep working on it, keep pushing until your target is achieved. And so to the teachers, I'm also a teacher, to the teachers and dear students. So let's work on this. Let's do research. Let's have more societies. I think you have a wonderful society, and use topics like this, which is more grounded, which needs your attention, so that unless and until it is developed at a very young level, I mean, this love for nature will not happen. So, so therefore, we need to inculcate the love for nature, which is really, we thought that it could be there anyway, but it will not be unless and until we take care of it, because it's fast disappearing now based on various challenges that we face. So, let's all protect our wonderful nature.
Thank you so much, Senior Professor Ranasinghe. Now, as we conclude this panel discussion, I feel a deep fulfillment, because not everyone knows that wetlands are suffering. The guardians, so wetlands helps maintain the balance and stability of the ecosystem, and not everyone is aware about it. With this panel discussion, we have addressed the threats that are facing wetlands today, and also we have addressed this issue where we have the relevant authorities who can make changes, and also as we, the community, the community also have to be aware. And I would like to thank our esteemed panelists on behalf of the EcoNexus Green Club, and also to the Central Environmental Authority, National Environment Pioneer Forum, for organizing such a wonderful event. And once again, to the distinguished panelists, you have shared insights, and also I hope that it will make changes and it will impact in the future to help conserve wetlands. Thank you so much.